Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to discuss why a few Scarlet and Violet big hits have seen a sudden increase in price. Now, when it comes to singles in the Pokemon card world, we all know, well, if you've been in the hobby for a while, we all know they're super volatile. Sometimes they come out of the gate at release super high, and as more supply hits the market, they drop off. That's generally the rule of thumb. Sometimes they break the trend. Sometimes they come out a certain price and all of a sudden they shoot up shoot up like absolute crazy into a price that no one expected. Quite often singles do this. And it's so hard to predict whether they're going to be super successful in the future, whether they're overpriced, whether they're underpriced. It's really just a guessing game for people. Like, for anyone to say, I know this is going to exactly happen with this card, has no clue really. It's so hard to tell. We can decipher and point out that maybe some cards are undervalued. And, based on the Pokemon that's in play, the pull rates on them, past performance of those sort of Pokemon with those sort of pull rates and artwork, that maybe they feel a little bit undervalued. And I'm actually about to do a video on that. But really, no one knows what's going to happen with singles. But why have we had such a meteoric rise on cards like Bubble Mew, Charizard from 151, even Greninja has bounced back and gone, I think, north of $300 now with some confirmed sales around, $310, $320, $330 US dollars. Why have these cards taken such a huge bump up in price all of a sudden? I'm going to get into that in just a second, but before we jump into it, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's sponsor. That is the Shiny mobile app. This is a collection/investing app. You can put all your singles and sealed Pokemon card products in there. You can track their values. It'll give you gains and losses. It shows you historical data, pricing for singles and sealed updates daily from multiple sources. Also, if you've got the app already, please update it because there's a new update in the search function. You can now filter by set. It'll go from newest to oldest, of course, with Stellar Crown sitting at the top there. And inside that, you can then filter by price high to low and choose, like me, looking at the top hits and choose any card you got on your set, add it to your collection, etc. So by all means, jump on it. I'll leave the links in the description of this video. Anyway, back onto the video. Why have we had cards have such a meteoric rise? And I think it comes down to a few things. First of all, sometimes cards will just feel undervalued, like they're not being appreciated. But then once they start getting appreciated, and once a few people start talking about them, and then once a few people start buying them, we get this herd mentality. Now, this is, I suppose it's a difficult field to study in the financial world because it's almost like behavioral finance, which is really hard to study because you don't get facts and figures per se. It's really just pointing out maybe some trends in human behavior. And think of it this way. Think of the herd mentality, right? When it comes to going to a restaurant. Let's say, for argument's sake, you're taking your wife or your partner or your family or whatever it might be out to dinner and you've decided, you know what, tonight we're going to have Italian. And you're going down the main strip of restaurants in your city and, there's two Italian restaurants, one on one side of the road and one on the other. And, one's got one couple sitting at it, but then 10 tables free. And the other one seems like it's absolutely buzzing and absolutely vibing. And there's one table left free. Herd mentality. Which Italian restaurant do you think 9 out of 10 people are probably going to go to? Some people might go, oh, that's too much atmosphere. I might go to this one because it's quiet. But most people are going to go, wow, there must be something good there. The food must be good. The atmosphere must be good. The music must be good because everyone is there. Herd mentality. Same thing happens in the Pokemon card world. And this is one of the main reasons I think some of these cards have taken a real increase in price. We get this herd mentality towards the singles. Everyone wants to hop on the train. Everyone's doing what someone else is doing or what everyone else is doing because it's so scary to do what not everyone else is doing because surely everyone must be right. We see this even another example is, things like all these alt currencies that come out and people probably had absolutely no clue about any of them. But, they didn't know the financial backings behind them or the history behind them, but everyone else was doing it and people were talking about making massive money out of it. So let's do it. It's that herd mentality. You don't want to feel like you're missing out. And I think that rings true on cards like Bubble Mew, Charizard from 151, and to an extent, of course, that Greninja from Twilight Masquerade, in that people are worried that if they don't jump on the train, that they're going to miss out. And what happens then is you get this massive snowball effect. So I'm just plucking numbers out of the air, but one day we get 5 sales in the Bubble Mew. And again, this is just an example. I'm not saying that's how many sales there are a day, but one day we get 5 sales. And then the next day there's 8. And the next day there's 12. And then all of a sudden people go, well, hold on, this card is getting a sort of snowball demand. And all of a sudden, then there's 15 sales a day and 20 sales a day. And then the market goes, well, this is a hot card. So, there's obviously more demand than what there is supply. And as a result, the outcome's inevitable, isn't it? If there's plenty of demand for something and, supply remains relatively stable until a heap more boxes and packs are open, then we get upward pressure put on the price. And that's, I think, what we've seen in the vast majority of cases with a lot of these illustration rares and special illustration rares that are finally, I suppose, getting the love that they deserve. The other side is, and this is probably a smaller factor as to why they've gone up in value, but money shifts around. There's only, I suppose, a certain amount of money pumping into this hobby every so often, unless there's new collectors and new investors coming into it, which can happen. 151 brought so many new collectors and investors into the hobby. There's other sets, these Prismatic Evolutions and Surging Sparks will bring people back because they're such good sets and it's what people have been waiting for. But there's only so much money unless more comes in. And if the money's being spent, a proportion on vintage and a proportion on middle era cards, and then, people have maybe shifted their attention from Sword and Shield alt arts and other cards towards picking up the new Scarlet and Violet because it's more appreciated. But this is also almost a form of herd mentality as well, isn't it? That money is now being shifted towards these really, really nice Scarlet and Violet special illustration rares and illustration rares. Shout out to Magikarp from Paldea Evolved and Tyranitar. And what's the other one? Groudon from Paradox Rift. Man, I'm caught off guard here a little bit, but man, there's some good illustration rares in Scarlet and Violet here, isn't there? Just some really, really good looking Pokemon cards. So I think those two combined, the fact that money will move around and people's attention has now gone towards Scarlet and Violet, but I think ultimately that's mixed into this overarching umbrella, which is herd mentality. And, look, it's a bit of a loose financial term, but I think most financial, I don't know whether you'd call them analysts or behaviorists, would agree that it can happen. We see it in stocks. We see it with, the .com phase way back when. We've seen it in crypto. That example from the restaurant. People will want to do what other people are doing because they'll feel like if they're not, they're missing out on something. And I think that's exactly what's happened during the Scarlet and Violet era. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying these cards are overpriced. I think they're maybe just realizing the price that they're deserved. Bubble Mew deserves to be an expensive Pokemon card. It's a nice looking Pokemon card. Everyone says it's got that name for it. We've heard of Moonbryon. It's Bubble Mew. It's got that code name or nickname. Charizard from 151 also deserves the price that it's got. It's a good looking Pokemon card. Is it the best Charizard? Personally, I don't think so. Do I still like the artwork? Yes. Is Charizard too small on it? Probably for my feelings, but hey, it's not all about me. It's what the community wants. And finally, of course, that Greninja. It's very two-sided, isn't it? Like some people either completely love it and some people completely hate it. But pull rates are difficult. It's an extremely fan favorite Pokemon. Personally, I absolutely love the artwork on it, and I think it deserves the price it's getting. There's only going to be so much Twilight Masquerade ever printed, and I think this card's price will hold relatively true. I'm actually surprised it's gone over 300. When it was like 280, 290, I thought maybe it'll see its way back down to 250, which it sort of did, but it's very, very quickly rebounded back over 300. Either way, the cards deserve the price they're getting and the love they're getting at the moment. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just describing some reasons as to why I think that's happened. Anyway, I'm Michael. This is Pokeoz, and I'll catch everyone next time.